ॐ शङ्खं चक्रं जलौकां दधदमृतघटं चारुदोर्भिश्चतुर्भिः सूक्ष्मस्वच्छातिहृद्यां शुक परिविलसन्मौळिमम्भोजनेत्रम् कालाम्भोदोज्ज्वलाङ्गं कटितटविलसच्चारुपीताम्बराढ्यम् वन्दे धन्वन्तरिं तं निखिलगदवनप्रौढदा
Giant of Integrative Medicine, Professor S.R. Narahari. He has been working in this integrative medicine field since last 13 years and more than 3,000 patients have been documented.
Knowledge, 24 years experience in practice. We went to the integrating modern dermatology and Ayurveda in the treatment of chronic diseases. Today what I am going to speak is how we managed it basically. So we have done it on a definition from the BMJ. BMJ in 2001 said practicing medicine in a way that selectively incorporates the drugs of complementary and alternative medicine. In 1999 we published in Current Science how to do this, but unfortunately that time Current Science was not a PubMed indexed journal. Now it is. So that is it. So we discussed on how actually we can do a clinical evaluation of traditional medicine. The structure of integration at IAD is pivoted on allopathy. That's the point I want to say. It's pivoted on allopathy because pathophysiological understanding of the disease and guidelines of research of allopathy and basic science are adopted in our program. And we believe that Ayurveda is less structured and the process and follow-up documentation is low compared to allopathy. I'm not saying I'm comparing with the allopathy. So what we did, we took an observational approach of how the treatments are made in allopathy and Ayurveda. We now, after examining the patients together with Ayurvedic and homeopathy and other doctors, we now know that we observed this. General clinical assessment exists in Ayurveda, albeit less structured and less informative. I must say that, but it does exist. Disease recognition and clinical treatment also exist in Ayurveda for many of the named diseases of allopathy. This is our observation last 13 years. And Ayurveda generally uses opposite properties to treat diseases. We have not explored, actually you should read it as were not explored. Actually Viparita Arthakari treatments we have not explored because you know what Viparita Arthakari treatments are. When you give the treatment, the disease exacerbates and that's how the disease gets cured. Such things we have not explored. Please read it as not explored. And we now know by observation that the very vast pharmacopoeia in Ayurveda far exceeds than that of the allopathy. And I must say they are very, very safe compared to allopathy. They are very, very safe. But then Ayurveda is what? It's individualized treatment since centuries. But I will say patient-centric approaches of evidence-based medicine is also individualized. The allopathy since 1997 took the stand that the treatment has to be individualized treatment. I don't know, any one of you have been seeing the serial Grey's Anatomy in CNN? Otherwise, students, you see the Grey's Anatomy in CNN. Then if you say, the doctor will say, the patient will ask the doctor, what is this likelihood of my cure? Then the doctor will say, statistically you have 17% of chance of survival in this cancer. This is very typical reflection of the American doctor treating a patient. You must see that Grey's Anatomy serial. You can download it in YouTube too. But that has changed in Europe now. You must say that in UK and Europe, they have started a patient-centric approaches of evidence-based medicine. So in other words, individualized treatment of Ayurveda is also same as patient-centric approaches of allopathy. Therefore, we have adopted evidence-based approach of allopathy for evaluating the Ayurvedic patient-specific treatments. We all published it. In the International Journal of Dermatology, we have published a 35-page article. I must say this because International Society of Dermatology publishes it since 1956, and this is the largest ever article published in their journal. It's an American journal. And today what I'm going to speak to you is the abstract of what we have published. This shows how exactly we have done this. So in our team, we combine Ayush, we combine biomedicine, we have pharmaceutical science with us, we discuss with botany and bioscience people, we have social science people, and our programs are patient-centric and it's objective outcomes, and we always look at the low-cost programs. So the first step is to do the examine the patients independently by an allopath and Ayurvedic doctor. That's the first thing we do. And the clinical diagnosis is based on allopathy, and treatment is given if Ayurveda and the proven and safe drugs of allopathy. We don't give in the integrative medicine steroids. We don't give immunosuppressives. We don't give whichever the treatment which is immunosuppressive or not safe. We don't give that. Only safe and proven drugs are given, and along with Ayurveda it is given. And it's strictly based on the therapeutic guidelines of Ayurveda when Ayurveda is given, and allopathy when it is administered together. To develop one table for one disease. So what is that? If an Ayurveda says this is kapha and because it has gana, let us say in terms of vitiligo we are doing, then we examine that, and he says, when the person says, the doctor says gana, we examine and say this is thickened skin. So it becomes gana is thickened skin. If Roma Vidvamsa they say in vitiligo for pitta, then they say absence of hair. If you ask any Ayurvedic, they will say absence of hair, but it's not really true that way. It's an absence of hair on a lesional skin in a hairy area. If you have a vitiligo here and you say Roma Vidvamsa, that is not vata, because you don't have hairs in palm. If you have a Roma Vidvamsa here, the loss of hair here, then that is Roma Vidvamsa. So what we have done in a Vikruti table is, we have clearly, implicitly, explicitly said, this is what Roma Vidvamsa means, this is what Krishna means, this is what Parusha means. So we gave an interpretation, Ayurveda itself, defined Ayurveda itself clearly using the allopathic terminology. Krishna means in vitiligo is not black. It is areas of dark repigmentation within the lesional skin when examined for the first time. When the patient comes for the follow-up and you develop the Krishna Varna, it is not Vata. It is not Vata. That is the interpretation we are giving. So we have developed the Vikruti table like that. So to give a full example, you see, you can look at that photo on vitiligo on the hand. That is a pitta dominant Sthaniya Vikruti, where you can see the color of the lotus petal. You can see that. Sometimes you can see a bright red color also. If that's a lymphedema or Shlipada, you can see the Rakta Varna there. And then the patient also has a Samsrava there. And the heaviness. All this comes to the pitta dominant Sthaniya Vikruti. If you go to the Vata dominant Sthaniya Vikruti, you can say annular lesion. What is that? Mandala. You say dusky red color. That is what? Aruna. You go down there for lymphedema, you have Parusha there, xerosis. Here the Krishna becomes a black pigmentation. You see, the interpretation of the Krishna in vitiligo, interpretation of the Krishna in lymphedema changes that. So that is what becomes, and the pain without any cause sometimes these lymphedema patients have. So if you take one particular clinical feature of Raga, then it goes, the Pitta dominance is there, but is different diseases exhibit different levels of color changes are there. So how will you interpret Raga for erythema? Then take it for Pitta. Now you can see the three diseases there: vitiligo, lichen planus, and psoriasis, where you can see the three different colors of erythema there. Now it is important for an Ayurvedist to identify a Vata Prakopa when the Pitta is there. See, if we miss the infection, this is cellulitis due to infection, streptococcal cellulitis causing infection. If you miss that, you will cause inflammation, sepsis, and you will lose the patient. That's cellulitis. When will you do that? So Ayurveda has to use an antibiotic there, much the same way as allopaths now accept that Ayurveda has definite treatments. It's a time for Ayurvedists to accept some of the very important concepts of allopathy. So here you need to treat with antibiotics. So identify a Vata Prakopa in a patient, then you refer to the allopath and get it treated there. Now if the patient is has less. We have seen that the patient has, you do the treatment here and there is no pain in that. The TCDCS are within normal limits, liver function, renal function within normal limits. Any amount of antibiotic, the erythema is not going to go. If you apply Pindathaila and give a massage for 7 days, it's gone. So this is the place where you identify a Vata Prakopa and accept allopathic treatment there. Identify only Pitta in erythema and treat a Pindathaila. That means it's kapha. For prurigo, for psoriasis, for lichen planus, for lipedema, keloid, all that elevated lesions. We need to know how to define that. Now if the violation color becomes shava, now we should know that this color changes as dhatu enters, dosha enters different dhatu. You see the early lesion of lichen planus will be erythematous, and the lesion of lichen planus changes its color to violaceous when because different stages of the diseases will exhibit different. You can see the Raktavarna there, lipedema, psoriasis, lichen planus. You can see that now. So it needs a larger clinical experience to interpret these things. That's why we need to work together. And that's an example of xerosis in different diseases. 3-4 years of follow-up, examining large number of patients, we developed Sthani Vikriti table for 3 diseases now. 1 to lymphedema. Now at that end, we now know that selection of the drug goes on Sthani Vikriti. Then we want to know whether this Sthani Vikriti really has something to do with drug selection. So we did a very simple bedside test. So we took 3 kinds of patients with statistically insignificant. It was the volume of the patient was statistically same. Now we applied oil and the absorption of the oil was statistically significant for 3 different Sthani Vikriti, Vata, Pitta and Kapha. So that is a simple bedside test which we did, that there is a significance for the application of Sthani Vikriti in the drug selection. But all in classical texts of Ayurveda don't align with the modern understanding. See, Tambravarna is said for vitiligo in Ayurveda, but Tambravarna is copper-red patch of leprosy and needs to be treated with leprosy. So we excluded those things, which is already the clinical position that contradicts the proven allopathic description. It contradicts definitely. So we excluded that in the Sthani Vikriti table. For example, Tanu, I think that's a Tanu where it is a thinning of that. So it is listed in Ayurveda, excluded it from vitiligo. So that is how we redefined Ayurveda and Sthani Vikriti table. So after the end of the Sthani Vikriti, then we are going for the patient selection for the drug. Here you have to be a Ayurvedist here. Avoid the influence of allopathy, because Ayurveda has its own principles of treating patients. But it's important to make a very elaborate notes which is guided by the structured allopathic patient examination. Always account for individualized treatment, which Ayurveda and evidence-based medicine speaks the same about. So when we do have with the drug selection, the mandatory inclusion criteria, what we want to call, should be based on the Dashavida Pariksha, Roga Avastha and the pharmacology of Ayurveda. So all 3 should come. Most of the Ayurvedists stop at those Dashavida Pariksha, but it's not really true. We should have 12 parameters to make a mandatory inclusion criteria there. And it's important to look at the stage of the disease, because Ayurveda already explains when the dosha goes to the dhatus, what are the clinical features. So it's important to identify a cluster of individualized treatment, what we in allopathy call subset of the patients. If you take Mahamanjishta the Kashayam, you can't give to everyone. Say individualized, you can't give it to everyone. But it can only be given to a subset of patients. By the Sthani Vikriti, we defined a clear indication where Mahamanjishta the Kashayam should be given, where Pindathaila should be given. That is what we have done using Sthani Vikriti. So we can really define the indications, which benefits on either way, either science. We all published it in the Journal of Alternative and Complementary Medicine. We all published it on evidence-based drug selection in Ayurveda. At that point of time, we needed more and more information. So we went to the systematic review of Ayurveda. We did publish with madam, your journal, we published that in from KEM. We did publish it on this protocol for systematic journal, systematic review in Ayurveda. where we took initially Baghelji's work on searching literature, and we called it as Baghel's hand searching. We named it in our article that way. Because this is the first ever work which done in Ayurveda, how to search for an article. So therefore we called it as Baghel's hand searching. So that we found out that in 2005 and subsequent editions, that was not sufficient to really go into the details of Ayurveda literature available in the world. So we structured it completely and published it again, how to search Ayurvedic literature. The conducting literature searches on Ayurveda in PubMed, Indian and other databases. So that has to be done so that we know whether anyone has done this work, whether anyone has the experience of using this drug anywhere. So that is important. So we did this searching. With all that, now we know what is the dose to be given, what is the duration of the treatment to be given, what is the possible mechanism of action, and what is the falashruti there. So that comes to the point of outcome measures. What is the outcome measure when we give the treatment to the patient we have to adopt? So we have initially adopted the Ayurvedic outcome measure. Like, for example, you are using Varunadi Kashayam, you say Kapha Medohara. You are saying Shvedana, you say it's a Vatahara. So what does it mean to an allopath or even to an Ayurvedist? So we described it. We worked together and described in biomedical terms what Kapha Medohara is, what Pittahara means. And then we also worked up in the same way as we developed the Sanimikriti in Ayurvedic terms as well. So we did not much the way use Kapha Medohara, instead we used the clinical descriptions there. What did happen? It became, when we used the clinical description, it became a very clinically relevant program. And we were able to compare it with the allopathy also. When we compared it with the allopathy, what is the advantage which Ayurveda got? There was a lot of experience in allopathy which is documented. So we could measure what is objectively validated before. It came very near to the objectively validated before program. And the changes in this outcome measure now reflects the changes in the patient. You see how we are going near to the evidence what the allopath is talking about. But Ayurveda also speaking the same, but it is zipped in Sanskrit shlokas. What we did, we opened it up. We examined the patient, we gave interpretations, we wrote it in English. That's all we did. And we defined Ayurvedic falashruti in allopathic terms. So the question I want to ask this audience, is there any description of the follow-up in Ayurveda? There are so many classical and 100 classical books. You tell me if any classical books talks about the follow-up of the patient. I think only little information we have on follow-up of the patient. What we did here in the integration is we continuously followed up the patient for over the years. So we listed the changes in the outcome variables during the follow-up. So it may not be true, as you are saying that, from Max Venture is saying that some of the drugs are withdrawn of the treatment in the market, in allopathy. Whether that can happen in Ayurveda, that's why some of the older classical Ayurveda drugs which is there in the classical literature is not available in the market. Is that the cause? We wanted to look at that. So in general we used at least 3 months of the follow-up before deciding to discard the treatment. Some of the treatment we had to discard because it's not working really. So where we have taken a caution that the follow-up should be at least 70%. So are there adverse events? When you ask a Ayurvedic, they will say, no, it's already mentioned in the textbook. Yes, or stomachache, yes, it's mentioned in the textbook. So he forgets at the time. Side effect is expected and known effects of the drug, not related to therapeutic outcome. It's very simple. So if it is mentioned in the book, yes, it is adverse event. Yes, it's an adverse event. And we have used Naranjo adverse reaction scale, find out if there is any adverse reaction, and the drug interaction probability scale, and we used the WHO patient safety guideline when we did all this. But I must say that after 3,200 patients we have used, we have recorded only 4 side effects. You see the safety of the drug, only 4 side effects. So that is over 10 years of follow-up. I'm not just saying that. We have followed them up for 10 years. So in our institute, what began the observation is that some of the patients come for an acute exacerbation to an allopath, but they manage their chronic disease with Ayurveda. when we made that whole initial observation in 1999, we thought that there is something really good in Ayurveda. So that is where the whole thing came, and we constituted a team for integrative medicine, which had an allopathic doctor, an Ayurvedic doctor, and a pharmaceutical science expert, botanist and pharmacognosist. We had specialist nurses. We did not have dermatology nursing, so we had to develop a dermatology nursing curriculum with Professor Lakshmi Nair from Calicut. We had to develop that, we have published that, and then we have to train the nurses and get them incorporated into the program. We always used to homeopathy doctor because their history taking is superb. No one can compare that because their diagnosis is totality of symptoms. So their structure of history taking is adopted into our program. And we always had a librarian for searching. We had an essential collaboration, social science groups, because they can cross across the borders, which most of us are. So we get back to the social group expert. They can very easily take us to all other systems. But there are very unresolved questions still with us. When you examine a vitiligo patient who has exposure to sun rays, they develop this erythema there. You can see that erythema there. Erythema is there. Whether this is pitta dominance, we don't know. The psoriasis patient in the winter season, they develop intense vata dominance. Is it a really vata dominance? We don't know. And if you look at the psoriatic scaly lesion, Matsya Shakala and Raja have a different presentation. You can see it in these pictures. Do they have the same cellular changes? Because you would have seen that in psoriasis, all patients don't respond to your treatment. Do we have to now go to the cellular changes and find out what's happening in the interleukin levels when you give the treatment? Should we do a drug targeted, multi-drug targeting studies in molecular level after taking the clues from the patient? Go to the skin cell lines and put the same whole medication there and identify the drug target and what does it release, interleukin 6, 12, what does it do? And therefore you change the treatment here back. So the reverse pharmacology studies have to go here to see some of the area where we can solve clinically. Now if you say Bahala, how will you say? In vitiligo, this lady has the whole body involved. This person with the psoriasis has the whole body involved. Where is the limitation of Bahala? In which percentage of body area you call it Bahala? We don't know. Now in terms of wound healing, we are doing studies on wound healing. We are using Jati Adi Taila and to some extent we get the response. Which is the oral medication we have to add? When to add? What should be the ankle brachial pressure index when you add these different drugs there? All this is not resolved. We are working on that. Now, do we have to restructure the clinical methods in Ayurveda is another question we are getting at the end of 3,000 patients. Should we change the treatment at different stages of the disease when dosha goes to different dhatu? Should we change the treatment? You look at the photo there. From kapha to vata, this patient is changing. You look at the other patient, the vata, kapha and vata, based on the clinical descriptions, the patient is changing that way. Now, how many formulations are listed in Ayurveda for a given dosha patient? Do we have to change at different levels? We don't. Look at this table below. Now, the vata when it becomes in vitiligo, raktagata, it has a arunavara color and it becomes a good prognosis. In kapha, which is a medogata, becomes a shweta and incurable. Now you look at the photo, the dhatu gata is changing clinically. Is it true? We don't know. And then because of the unsafe drugs of allopathy, I am not saying Ayurveda, because of the unsafe drugs of allopathy, proof requires large numbers from most common diseases. So even if we know in India that Ayurveda is safe, now we can't accept that. It's because allopathy is became mainstream here and it's all unsafe drugs we have. Most of them are unsafe drugs. So we have to align the integrative treatment into the structure of evidence-based medicine and basic sciences to get these things. So what is the outcome? When we did all this, the objective outcomes, you can see the before and after picture there for lymphedema. Another before and after picture. You can see the before and after picture there. And what happens? More than all that, the patients go back and work. This is the program I'm going to speak again on public health today, where we had 1,000 patients examined in villages and treated using the same methods. And they were able to go back to their work is the important thing. Rehabilitation is taken. In vitiligo, you can get this kind of responses. In lichen planus you can get this response. In psoriasis too you get good response. You can see the response in psoriatic patients, how beautifully they heal. We have to get this response, we have to give methotrexate to them. We have to put them on long-term narrowband. But we got it, this response in that such a short time, you can see that. 2 weeks time when there is right drug selection in Ayurveda which is. So that is important. The right drug selection is very, very important. So having said that, we have opportunities for anyone interested to come and learn this as a volunteer. Unfortunately, our institute runs not even a single government grant to us. All grants people reject a lot of things. Unfortunately, we got one grant, 16 lakhs pending last 2 years to get it. So we are really worried to get a government grant or not. But you can come as a volunteer and work. IADVL gives, our Indian Association of Dermatology gives funding. If any one of you are interested coming and working, we are recognized for fellowship in IADVL. You can apply for that. And you can learn on systematic reviews. We have the publication, we have the website dedicated for that. And now to look into whether we have to change the drugs in the clinical level, we are planning some collaboration with reverse pharmacology designs with the Central University of Kerala there. So some studies we are planning. Anyone interested, you're welcome. And I can't close my lecture without acknowledging our mentor, Professor Terence Rayan from Oxford, who has been spending a lot of time with us, trying to educate. This is the person who has been a pioneer in dermatology in the world. Thanks a lot.